There are a few more that have to order their meal, and we'll go ahead with that as we start off. And then once the meal arrives, then we'll take time off for that. But in the interest of time, we'd like to start, and I thank you very much for you people who have returned for another session of the Hot Stove League, and to you people that have joined us. We appreciate it very much. It's going to be a fun and exciting summer, and it will only be made that way because of the people that come and present a topic with us, and you people coming and joining in. And Greg Peterson and I are very pleased with the results of the idea of the Hot Stove League. I'll remind you that next time we meet will be on the 27th, and John Venable. John was a pitcher that came out of Little Rock, Arkansas, and made his state in Jamestown, and has his profession here in Jamestown, and raised his family in Jamestown. And he'll be with us on the 27th. There will be no gathering on the 11th of May. That week we'll just have one, and that'll be the 25th of May. And that'll be Bob Bastian, who's with us today. And Bobby will be with us to talk about his experiences and his fun and excitement playing baseball in Olean and all of those exciting things that happened during that time. And then Al Taylor will be on June 8th and on June 22nd. Al Taylor was a pitcher to come out of Detroit, was at Jamestown, and again made his home and his family here in Jamestown. Park Catchpole is a local attorney in Jamestown, and he was the mascot for Billy Webb Spiders at Celeron back in the 20s, and he has a lot of memories and things about those times. And then on the Wednesday, the 7th, or the 27th of July, Art Asquith. Art played in the Pony League here and went on to be an instructor at Cassadaga Valley School, played in the semi-pro teams here in the area, and has a story to share with us, and Art will be with us on the 27th. But we'd like to begin, and I'll just, as we do before, we'll just turn the floor over to our guest, and at any time you have any questions, don't hesitate to stop Joe and ask him any questions, or we'll just have a fun free-for-all. So, Joe Nalbone, it's an honor to have you with us.
Thank you, Russ.
You can sit if you like.
Thank you. That's all right. I'll stand. I might have to sit before I'm done. First thing I want to do is introduce my wife, Casetta, and my brother-in-law, Pete Carlo. So, we're family. First, I want to talk about College Stadium. College Stadium was a place where I did umpiring my first professional game here at College Stadium. Now, the stadium was erected in 1941. It was first called Jamestown Municipal Stadium. It has been changed since to College Stadium. And the reason was that the city turned it over to the college because there was programs from the state giving grants, money for educational purposes, where the city wouldn't be able to get, where being College Stadium. So keep in mind, Sean Riley, you're the business manager of the Jammers, right?
Well, Christine's business manager. I'm assistant general manager.
Well, then you're the assistant general manager, right?
Yes.
Well, all right, so keep in mind any grants that you hear, you apply for. All right, now,
That I will do.
when the stadium was erected, it was first boarded. It had a board fence, and they asked for volunteers at that time to help build the stadium, and I did a lot of work. I was good with a hammer, pounding nails. All right, the mayor at that time was Mayor Leon F. Roberts, was our city mayor. The council was Sam Strode, Walter Barrett, Anton Hansen, A. Herbert Elm, C. Harold Rain, Burton E. Miller, Carl Jarl, William McCool, Carl G. Zetterman, and Fred Chingren. Then the other council was James Bonfilio and Gus D. Johnson. The Citizen Committee was formed with Ernest Kessler as chairman, Ernest C. Kessler. Judge Alan E. Barker was on that committee, and so was Harry A. Tabor. Director of Public Works at that time was Charles Stramberg. Well then, in later years, not too far ahead, Russ Dietrich became Parks and Recreation Director. Let's give him a hand. He did a lot of good for parks, sports programs, children programs, with the ice rink up there at Ellen Park. See, before Russ Dietrich stepped down from being Parks and Recreation Director, he had a job. Well then, he became, you all know, the director of the Babe Ruth World Series throughout the United States. Well, now I sympathize with Russ because they moved the chairmanship of the Babe Ruth to Trenton, New Jersey. So if you hear of a youth program, a good job, give Russ Dietrich a hand.
He's tired now.
All right, so my next song is going to be that I umpired in the first NYP League game. The president at that time was Bob Stedler. Bob Stedler was sports director of the Buffalo Evening News, and he was the first president that with a committee they formed. It was called the Pony League. Pony for Pennsylvania, Ontario, and New York. See, since then it's been changed to NYP, New York, Pennsylvania. So we have no Ontario team, am I right?
We have teams in Ontario, New Jersey, Massachusetts.
Yeah, they're New York, Penn, yeah. Well, anyhow, then the second president following Bob Stedler was Vince McNamara. Vince McNamara was from Orchard Park, Buffalo. Then the third president was Leo Pinckney. He was from Auburn, New York. Then the next president was John Colpays, Colpays. He was from Niagara Falls. He didn't last too long. And right now, I think it's Robert Julian. Am I right?
That is correct.
Well, let's give credit to all who does do president jobs. I know it because I was president of the Chautauqua County, the baseball for 20-some years or better, the County Great Bell Baseball League, and it's still going. It was formed in 1921, and it's still continuing. Lyle Parkhurst is the president as of now. Then the next item I want to talk about is the first commissioner of baseball was Mountain Landis was the first commissioner of baseball. The second one was Happy Chandler. Does it ring a bell? Or you probably weren't born then. The third commissioner of baseball was William Eckert. The next one was Bowie Kuhn. Then Peter Ubenard with Barlett Giamatti, and now I think it's Fay Vincent. Am I right?
There is no, well, he was the last commissioner, but right now it's sort of,
There is no position. You ever meet any of those commissioners, John?
No. No, let's see. No, I've met, let's see, Theodore Roosevelt, our president's son, Theodore Roosevelt Jr. I met Harry Truman. In politics, I met a lot of bigs.
You didn't call them out on strike, so did you?
So, all right, so I want to tell a baseball story. A story about the New York Yankees and the Boston Red Sox. On a given Saturday, Boston was playing at the Yankee Stadium. So following the Saturday game, Joe McCarthy called a meeting of all the ball players. And he said, to them gentlemen, I have an announcement to make to you. Tomorrow being Sunday, we're playing Boston again, but it's going to be at Fenway Park in Boston. And my announcement is that tomorrow being Sunday, I'm going to church at the 9 o'clock Mass on 9th Street. It's the St. Anthony's Church. See you at church, boys. See you in church tomorrow morning. So that morning when Joe McCarthy entered the church, see, the manager of Boston at that time was Ralph Hall. So when Joe McCarthy entered the church, he saw Ralph Hall up in the altar lighting a candle. So McCarthy said, gee, amazing. So when Ralph Hall went to his seat, Joe McCarthy went to the altar, and he lit 2 candles. So that afternoon, Sunday, they had the baseball game at Fenway Park, and the Yankees won the game. 2 candles to 1. All right, now, the next thing I want to talk about is Jake Pittler. He was a manager of Olean, maybe Sebastian.
I remember him.
Remember,
I didn't play.
well, look, Jake Pittler got put out of more games than I got hair, I guess. But I never had to put him out. But this one day, see, Jake was an ex-ball player. He was smart. He was a showman.
That's right.
He could make the fans think, come to the next game. All right, here, I'm in Olean, the base umpire. I'm going to tell you about Jake Pittler. I better move my chair a little bit so I know I'm not going to fall. All right, so there was a play situation. First, before, well, let me write this down so I don't want to change the subject here. All right, I was a base umpire, and Jake Pittler was coaching third base. Now, if any of you remember Jake Pittler, he had a lot of hair, and it was gray. And he parted in the middle, and it came down, a lot of hair, always bushy hair, something like the boys today. Well, anyhow, there was a play situation at first base, and it was where the ball beat him there, and I called him out. Jake Pittler ran from third base right across the home plate, right across the pitcher's plate over to me, and he got over to me and he says, Nalbone, I want to tell you something. Now he's pointing like that at me, see, and the plate umpire and everybody and all the fans are hollering, kill him, give him some more. And he's telling me, Nalbone, somebody told me you were a good umpire. I think you were a good umpire. Somebody said you had good eyesight. I think you got good eyesight. You're a good umpire. You put his cap on, ran back to the third base. All right, so when the inning ended, my partner, the chief umpire, came up to me and he says, Nalbone, what was he telling you? He told me I was a good umpire. He looked like he was killing you. He told me he looked like he was killing you. All right, then story about Johnny Newman. Johnny Newman was a big husky boy, a good power hitter. All right, on a given day, I was in Corning, New York, where Paul Splitteroff became a pitcher with Kansas City. He was pitching with Corning. So Paul Splitteroff was in the restaurant where the umpires were together. And I would talk with the players, like Splitteroff waved at me and he says, Nalbone, who's the umpire behind the plate today? I says, I am. Good. He liked it. All right, so before the dinner ended, Splitteroff come over to me and he says, Nalbone, can I ask you a question? I said, yeah. What is it? He said, did you ever make a mistake? I said, yeah. He said, what was it? I said, I called a high pitch a strike on a batter. He says, I know you don't give the high. Look, the strike zone is from the armpits, and I learned a lesson. That time was my second professional baseball game. I had butterflies. It's true. You get up there in the pros. Am I right, Bastion? You get up there in home plate. You want to hit, striking the balls up there. All right. So then, then the player I called the high pitch was Johnny Newman. See, I started off telling you I was going to talk about Johnny Newman. All right, it was in Hornell where I missed the first pitch on Johnny Newman. All right, and I want to describe the field of Hornell. The left field fence was 385 to the fence. Over the fence, there was a 15-foot corral where you could walk, and there was a 9-story building 15 feet from the fence. All right, so when Johnny Newman came to bat, I'm the plate umpire, and I'm down like this, and the pitch was high, and I said, strike! Johnny Newman was chewing tobacco. Spit and hollered at me. Now, he said that pitch was high. Well, I said, Johnny, let him throw it again. So, anyhow, he was angry. So, all right, so then the next pitch, see, Johnny Newman was angry that I called a lousy call on the high pitch. So the next pitch, Johnny hit that ball, it's going, it's going. It hit that schoolhouse, 15 feet out of the park. Now, he was in a visiting stadium, and the fans gave him a big applaud of hand to Johnny Newman. Then Johnny Newman became a citizen of our city, Jamestown. He became a bus driver, and then became a manager of a Babe Ruth team. And I used to umpire professional ball, Little League, Babe Ruth. And when Johnny was the manager of a Babe Ruth team, I was assigned to umpire a game. And I said to Johnny, Johnny, you remember that home run you got in Hornell? He says, yeah, thanks to you, Joe, you got me mad enough. Well, we became friends. So much about Johnny. Then here's a story about Lefty Gomez. It's a short story. Lefty Gomez was a pitcher for the Yankees for 10, 12 years. Now, at that time, when Lefty Gomez was a pitcher, they didn't have the DH rule. The pitchers had to bat in the American League. So after 10 years, Lefty Gomez is up, and he hits a triple. And Frankie Crissetti is coaching third base. He slides into third. He got up and he said to Frank Crissetti, hey Frank, you want me to steal home? Frank says, look, it took you 10 years to get here, and don't move it up now. All right, Yogi Berra has a son named Dale Berra. All right, on a given year, Dale Berra knew that his father had a birthday. And about a week before Yogi's birthday, Dale Berra had a girlfriend. They went to a store and bought him a gift and mailed it to him. And the gift was a shirt, short sleeve shirt, like that gentleman, short sleeve with Hawaiian print. So he got the shirt, and then when it was his birthday, Dale went over to visit him, see? So when the game ended, that he was, see, Dale was in Tampa, and Yogi was in Fort Lauderdale. So when Dale arrived in Fort Lauderdale, he had to wait till his father came out of the shower, and he was wearing that shirt, see? So when he came out, Dale's girlfriend looked at Yogi, Dale introduced him, and she says to Yogi, "My, you look cool in that shirt." He looked at her and he says, "You don't look so hot either." Well, let's eat.
Let's enjoy the food and the fellowship next to us, and then we'll ask Joe to come back again. Thank you, Joe.
It's mine, yeah.
I'd like to just make
Thank
a
you.
comment while we're all sitting here waiting for our meal.
is the fact that, you know, we got our Jamestown Jammers back in Jamestown now. And in doing so, we formed a booster club to help the club in any way we can to make the ball players feel welcome into the Jamestown community. I myself never played any kind of professional sport. Yes, I played junior high football and baseball right up into high school. I never got involved, and the reason for that really is that as I was growing up, when I was 14, 15, 16, my father had a business, and he believed that when the school was over, he went back home and went to work. So therefore, my practice time was very limited, so I never really got into sports heavily. Do I love sports? Yes. It was a void in my life because I never really got a chance to play myself as much as I wanted to. But here I am all these years later. I'm now a senior citizen. I never got away from sports, and I include high school sports as well as our own baseball league down the stadium. And so I've always felt whatever I can do to contribute to the community in regard to promotions, I've always done it. I never turned my back on promotions. And therefore, this year, we formed a new booster club, and I find myself on the board of directors. I have to be the senior member. I guess I'm the senior member of the boosters, but I feel that I have a purpose there because I'm there representing the older people of baseball. Whereas we have a lot of younger people on our staff too, who are there to represent the younger people. But we've got a real good booster committee. We've got some new people with new ideas, and we're starting to meet. We had our first meeting here about 2 months ago here at the Holiday Inn. And here a month ago, we met at our president's house, Julie Dungeon, who's our new president of our booster, Jamestown Jammers. And we're meeting again tonight at my home. So we're starting to put our program up together, and we've got another meeting set up for Saturday here at the Holiday Inn again. We're going to do whatever we can do to make baseball enjoyable for the city, make the ball players know that we want them here, we welcome them here, to represent Jamestown in our league. And whether we win or lose the league really isn't the final deal. The deal is if we can enjoy the game of baseball, it's a place to go at a very reasonable cost. You can take your family down there and watch a good game. And some of these ball players over the years, as we've seen them, have gone on to big heights. Like Joe mentioned, some of the players that came through, they're up there today. Now, we were hooked up with the Jamestown Expos, as you well know, the Montreal Expos, and some of the players that played Jamestown 3 and 4 or 5 years ago are up there today. Grissom, DeShields, Randy Johnson, who's pitching no-hitter, he's playing with Seattle now, passed through Jamestown just not too many years ago. So we've got quite an input into the history of baseball as far as the city is concerned. But I think it's great. I know, what's her name? She's been coming to our meetings, so she's got a little input into our meetings. We're trying to do what we think is right. And we're having a meeting tonight, and I just want to let you know that behind the scenes, there are people who are interested in keeping our program of baseball alive. And I think it's great for Jamestown.
Thank you, Pete.
As far as
Maybe
one
Sean-
last word about Russ Dietrich, I've got to tell you.
You've had the last word.
No, I got to say one more thing. When he was with Babe Ruth, you know, he put forth a lot of money in the city to bring the Jamestown Stadium what it is today. If it wasn't for people like Russ Dietrich, I'm telling you, we wouldn't be in the position we are today to encourage professional baseball to even stay in Jamestown. Because through his efforts, they brought money in the city to revamp our stadium, to make the dressing rooms and the dugouts and the playing area and the outfield signs to the position they are today. We'd be so far behind, pathetic. It's through the efforts of Russ Dietrich that we are in a position today of having one of the best ballparks in our league, bar none, bar none. And still they tell us we're behind financially. There are improvements we have to make. But if it wasn't for people like Russ to do what he did at that point, we would be so far behind, I don't think we could ever catch up. So I tell you, Russ has got, he's got more awards and compliments from the city of Jamestown, I couldn't begin to tell you, that he deserves every one of them.
Thank you, Art. Just for spending the taxpayers' money, I was good at that. Enjoyed that. Sean, maybe between bites, we have Jammer staff with us today, and some of the folks that are new to our Hot Stove League, maybe Sean, would you take a moment to introduce the staff that's here?
Sure. Well, I've met quite a few of you, but I don't know everybody. But those of you who don't know, I'm Sean Riley, and I'll be the assistant general manager of the Jammers. And I'll try to be coordinating the day-to-day activity because that's what I did in Niagara Falls for 3 years with the Rapids. But the rest of the staff is here, and I'd like to introduce them because it's a team game on the field and off the field, in the front office also, and they're very important to our success. So across the way, there's Doug Sittler, who's our public relations manager. Doug's in charge of the community PR and group sales. Christine Ferguson is our business manager. She's in the office that we have on 3rd Street, and she'll be handling our merchandising sales when our hats and shirts are ready. And if you have any questions about tickets or anything regarding the team business-wise, talk to Chris. And she'll also be coordinating the Booster Club also. Over here on my right is a man who worked with me in Niagara Falls. And so he won a championship ring with us last year when we took the New York Penn League title, Glenn Barker. And he graciously agreed to come down and help us out in our efforts to boost our group sales and our advertising sales. And welcome, Glenn. So I just want to say thank you very much for coming today, and it certainly is a pleasure to be in Jamestown. And if you know anybody who is interested in advertising or buying season tickets, please send them over to see us because I love the game and I love to spend all my time in the field, but unfortunately we have to pay the phone bill and the bus trips. So any help you can give us in that area is welcome, and anything else we can do for you, please don't hesitate to call. We're here for you.
Thank you, Sean.
Thanks, Rich.
We'll let Lyle enjoy his.
Got a big one.
Did all class of baseball. If there's no other questions, then I'll continue in doing a little bit. First, I want to talk about, let's say, a fair ball or a foul ball. See, where the batter stands, he stands in the batter's box. And the batter's box is in foul territory with exception about 1.5 feet. That's where the line goes like this. There's about this much in fair. So when you see a batter swing and the ball goes down, it hits foul. So it's a foul ball even though it goes as far as a pitcher's mound or as far as first base, see? Now, any ball that passes third base or first base in flight and then hits in fair territory, see? It passed third base, hits in fair territory, and then rolls out. See, it's still a fair ball. Or let me turn it around. Any fly ball that hits foul past third base and then rolls back in, it's foul because it first hit foul. Now, first let me say a story that happened in Wellsville about the foul tip. Right? The batter is up, he swings at the ball, ticks the bat, see, the umpire goes like this, and the ball in flight hits the catcher, see, from the bat, the ball hits the catcher on the shoulder, and it goes up. It goes up, and the catcher catches it. And I went, foul ball! The manager of Wellsville come over, he's gonna kill me. He said he caught that ball. He's out with 3-2. I know he caught the ball, but it's a foul ball. He said, why? Well, I said, you better read up on the rules, buddy. I said, a foul tip, in order to be in play, let's say it hits the bat, goes to the glove, he's got the ball, and a runner is trying to steal, he can throw him out because the ball went to the glove, see? Now, so this manager of Wellsville says to me, I'm playing this game under protest. On what grounds? He said, you misinterpreted the rule. All right, I said, here's what I have to do, is give it to the press box and announce it publicly so the media picks up that you're protesting this game. Now what you have to do, buddy, is make 3 copies of the protest in writing send one to the president, one to the signing umpire, and one you keep. But you gotta put $50 in that envelope. And if you win the protest, you get back your $50. Oh, hi.
Hey, Joe.
If you brocious, you,
No,
Venable.
Johnny Venable.
all right, all right, all right. So I said, now, if you lose the protest, you don't get your $50. He said, wait, can you give me time? I said, why? He said, I want to go talk to my business manager. So he came back after talking to the business manager, and I said, my manager said that to forget the protest, that umpire knows what he's doing. This is what he said about the foul tip. All right, now, see, the foul tip is like, in the rule it states, the ball has got to go from the bat directly to the glove or the hand before touching the ground to be a live ball. See, in other words, if he swings and the foul tip off of the bat hits his shin guards and rolls out, it's a foul ball because it didn't go to the glove or the meat hand. That's, any questions about the foul tip? Yes.
What happens if it hits his glove and goes pops in the air and then he catches it? Is that still
What
considered-
happens if,
Say there's a foul tip,
yeah,
it hits his glove and it pops straight up and he catches it on the way down.
and catches it again?
He's like, well, right, it hit his glove.
Yeah, well, see, it first hit the glove.
Right.
Right? And then he caught it without hitting any obstacle other than back to the glove.
So you don't have to catch it as long as it's got to hit the glove before it hits the ground, what you're saying.
Well, the way you asked me, you're telling me it first hit the glove, popped up,
Right,
and then he caught it.
right,
Well,
exactly.
I'd say it was legal catch because it didn't hit the obstacle other than, nothing formed other than the way the rule states, why it's a foul tip and when it's in play. See, in other words, the way I described it, see, it first hit his shoulder, bounced up and he caught it. And when he appealed, he said, I know he caught it, but it didn't go directly to the glove or the hand. It hit here first, so it's a foul ball. See? All right, now, the story I want to tell was on a given towards the tail end of an NYP League semi-final game between Wellsville and Bradford at Bradford. See, they were playing for berth position, who was going to be team 1 or 2. And a fellow named Davenport was a playing manager for Bradford. Now, you would never believe what happened. All right, I'm the base umpire, and Frank Belak, he's from Canada. He's a plate umpire. All right, Davenport, Bradford is 1 run. Wellsville had 2. It was in the 7th or 8th inning, and there was a runner on first base for Bradford, and Davenport, the playing first baseman, was at bat. Now, the caretaker, before the game, he puts line from third base all the way to the left field wall. He puts line beyond first base all the way to the wall. Line that thick. See, now the line has something to do with the story I'm telling. All right, now, you never would believe what happened. Davenport swings at the ball, and it goes in air past third base. This is the line, and it hits over here. Foul ball. See? All right, now, whatever made that ball on the second bounce come back in and hit the line? It must have hit a pass. All right, so when Frank Davenport hit the ball, he's running. His eyes are in flutter. And he didn't see the first bing that it was foul, and the plate umpire said, foul ball! He saw a line. When that ball came in, line was up in the air this much from where I was on second base because there was a runner on first. I saw line too. He went berserk. He runs, see the plate umpire then wore a balloon protector with a strap. He comes down to the umpire, yanked the strap, broke it through. He got brutal. the umpire had to put him out of the game. So he called me and he says, Belak says, Joe, did you see what happened? Well, I said, you tell me. He said, Joe, you won't believe. He said, the first bing was foul, and I called it a foul ball. Then when it hit the line, it was already foul after it hit the line. It's not a fair ball, see? Well, I says, all right, all I can do is go over and talk to him because he wouldn't leave the field. So I says to him, Davenport, you know, I'm like you. I tried to calm him down. I said, I saw a line, but what he tells me is authentic. He's the umpiring chief. He saw the ball first hit foul. I didn't. I'm like you. I said, he's telling me this, and in his honesty and fairness, he's the umpire. And what I want to tell you, how brutal you were to my partner, there's no way that you're going to be excused unless you get out of here. And if you don't get out of here now, I'm going to write a letter to the president, impose the biggest fine he ever imposed unless you go. If you get out of here and go, you got the fans all ready to kill us. I went to the caretaker after he left and told the caretaker, I want you to call the sheriff, the police, all the authority of law, and tell them to come over here. Those fans are going to kill us. This is true. They were that angry from what the manager of the show he put out about this foul tip. Well, first I want to ask Russ Dietrich. We're coming up with a Babe Ruth World Series not too long. In a year or two?
95.
5 more years?
No, 1995.
Oh, 1995, not too long. Well, we're all looking forward to that Babe Ruth World Series. Will it be 13 or 14?
16.
16? Oh, that'll be good.
Good baseball.
I've attended. All right, let me go back to Russ Dietrich. During the 81 Babe Ruth World Series, I have a ticket to prove that I was there. Well, I had a good seat, and the usher came over to me and he says, Nalbone, we're having a 50-50. Would you want to buy a ticket? And it was a 2-part ticket. I handed it to my wife. She signed her name, and I gave it to him. Gave him $1. And he says, aren't you going to buy one? I said, I just give you $1. He says, that's your wife's. He's pulling my arm, see? He's a good salesman. All right, so I reached out, gave him $1, bought a ticket, put my name in the hat. The 4th inning, Russ Dietrich goes to home plate with a girl, some young girl. Russ Dietrich got the name, Joe Nalbone, who won $780.
That's right.
Since then, all the World Series he's had, I bought 2 tickets, as much as $30 a piece. So far, I think I'm about even. All right.
Tell us about Joe DiMaggio.
Oh, let me go with DiMaggio. All right. Being my name Nalbone, I have cousins in Niagara Falls by the same name. They're my, well, let's see, Pete, Augustine, and Sandy. Pete was vice president of a hotel in Niagara Falls. You say sometime you're at the right place at the right time. Well, on a given day, I went to visit Pete Nalbone, my cousin, from Jamestown to Niagara Falls. And when we were with Pete, his wife fixed a dinner for us, me and my wife, and I told Pete, I said, tomorrow, I'm going to visit your brother who lives in Lewiston. You're familiar with Lewiston?
Very well.
All right, so I said, your brother Billy, and his name is William. I went the next day to Lewiston, and when I was there, I got a phone call. It was my cousin Pete, who I had visit the day before. He said, Joe Nalbone, I got good news for you. What is it? He said, Joe DiMaggio got married to Marilyn Monroe, and they registered in my hotel. Yeah, and I says, he said, you want to meet him? I said, yeah, what do I have to do? Well, he says, our carpenters are building a big screen. And they're boarding it up, they're building a big screen because they have a video. She had an agent, Marilyn Monroe had an agent that was traveling with him. All right, so the next day, he said, be at the Maid of the Mist, you know, in the area of Niagara Falls, if you're familiar with Niagara Falls. So I went there the next day and met Joe DiMaggio, and I got talking to him. And I said, Joe, I've met Yogi Berra, different ball players, Wade Boggs, Mattingly, different players in the, playing baseball. But I said, I've seen you play ball. On a given Sunday, you were playing, the Yankees were at Cleveland. I said, I want to see if you remember this. I said, we were a busload of about 50 members of Marco Polo on an excursion. We loaded it with sandwiches and beer and came to the Cleveland ballpark to watch the Yankees. In that second inning, Joe, you got a home run off of Bob Feller. Feller was the pitcher. Then in the sixth inning, they took Feller out, and you came to bat again in the seventh inning on the second pitcher, and you got another home run. He says, I'll never forget that. He's talking with DiMaggio. Well, anyhow, I kissed Marilyn Monroe on the cheek, I remember. She was a sort of a quiet girl. She was a good singer, a good show girl. He was a good baseball player, a good long ball hitter. He had an agent that when you get married, in my thinking is, a man and wife should be together more often than they were. Him being in baseball would go to Boston, Cleveland, wherever they were scheduled, to Milwaukee or so on. And she had this agent that was being paid 20% of her earnings, and he was booking her to different shows, and they'd maybe meet once every 3 months. So they divorced. Joe DiMaggio, well, so much about that there.
Joe, did you ever umpire at Selwyn Park? Did you umpire at Selwyn Park?
Selwyn Park, yes. I umpired a game there that Pittsburgh Pirates played. See, I was telling Sean that I was looking for a pitcher where the day, see, what I do have is the lineup of that game. I got the lineup of the game that Oscar Larson and we umpired. There it is, see? He's got the schedule.
That's the original,
And
1939.
the good part about this game was, let me tell you, see, the pitcher, when I had the pitcher, I gave it to Tom O'Reilly, and it was in the scorecard. Now, why I'm saying this is, if any of you have a scorecard, now, it was during the time that Tom O'Reilly was business manager. He was business manager, Bob, do you remember, about 6 years? So,
General manager.
6 or 7?
Yeah.
Yeah, see, so if any of you have an old schedule of the Expos, that picture of Pittsburgh Pirates playing at Sutherland, I'm in the picture next to Hannes Wagner. See, it's an honor, let's say, for me to be next to Hannes Wagner. See, 2 years ago, they had a card show in New York City. And they had a card of this here shortstop, what did I say the name was?
Hannes Wagner.
What?
Hannes Wagner?
Yeah, Hannes Wagner. See, I'm getting Hannes Wagner. At this card show, they had a picture of Hannes Wagner, and the syndicate from Los Angeles paid $400 and some thousand for Hannes Wagner. See, the syndicate was there was a basketball player, famous. I can't remember his name, but the syndicate, Bob Hope, syndicate of millionaires. See. And I'm still looking. See, now, this is the lineup. See, pass it. You see it? You saw it, right? Right, that's the lineup. See, at that time, I had the pitcher and didn't have the lineup. So now, with Lynn here, he gave me the lineup. I don't have the pitcher. So, so much for that. Well, I've umpired where there's major league umpires that was in the minor leagues that I umpired with. Nestor Shylock, Ken Kaiser, Art France, and Jake O'Donnell. Now, Jake O'Donnell is still active. See, he became an American League umpire, and he was a good basketball official. And then when basketball was in the playoffs, the American League, where he was a baseball umpire, he would be called to referee basketball. He was that good as a basketball official, so he would miss the spring training being with the league umpires. So the president of the league told him, can't serve two gods, buddy. You either go with baseball or with basketball or whatever. Well, anyhow, he stuck with basketball, and what he does now, he's a standby umpire in the International League. Yeah, that's Jake O'Donnell. Now,
Joe, when you were doing all this umpiring, weren't you working full-time also? You, didn't you have a full-time job in the factory?
no, I quit. I was working at Crawford. I've been retired there. I was 68 years old.
But I mean, while you were umpiring, you were still
I had
working.
3 jobs. I can't figure out, I'm retired now, how I could do 3 jobs, keep my family, and still survive. Let me say, the job I had was, my first job was, I was in Jamestown Stirling in the shipping room. I was a shipping clerk. Then I went to Crawford and became a cabinet maker, and then was a cabinet repair maker. All right, my second job was, I was an elected legislator. I was elected 10 times, 2-year terms, and served 20 years as a legislator in Mayville. All right, and then my third job was that, well, let's see, Crawford, baseball umpire. Yeah, a legislator, and then it was an umpire. All right, there was one given Sunday, we were going to Olean. I had my family. See, now, when I first started umpiring, I was young, got married young. And I give advice to anybody that wants to be an umpire, don't get married young. Don't get your family until you get established into earning more money, because in the minor leagues you don't earn too much. All right, I'm en route going to Olean. I had an old jalopy car. I got this side of Salamanca and I got a flat tire. Put the spare, left Salamanca and got another flat. I didn't have no spare. My wife and kids, I had to get to the ball game in Olean. So there was a farm place up there. I told my wife and kids, go up there and call my son, tell him about coming back. I'll be in Olean. So I had a paraphernalia bag with my chest protector, shin guards, and got on the road and hitchhiked. I got a ride at the Olean Park, and when I got there, the first thing I did, see, I was late, is I went to the office and I said, I told them why I was late, have it announced so they don't kill me when I go in the field. I'm about 20 minutes late. So somehow the public address system was high. And the boy that was going to go up and give him the message about me was late. And I got on the field before he announced it. So when I got on the field, "There, you bum, where you been? Who do you think you are? This is a baseball game. You're late." So after the inning ended, the loudspeaker up there said, "Your attention, please. We'd like to tell you why our base umpire was late. He got 2 flat tires and had to leave his family and children at a farmhouse and hitchhike." Then I
It's just a
now,
cop. It's a cop.
is there anybody who wants to ask something?
Joe, you were one of the only umpires I remember that used to announce the pitcher, the change in the lineup.
Oh, yeah.
Other umpires didn't seem to do that.
Yeah, well, yeah.
What's the story behind that?
Pete Crishone always was amazing. See, let's say, when I was younger, I had a real good memory. You could give me 5, at a baseball game, 5 names of substitutions, and then 5 coming in, 5 going out. I could remember all the substitutions. So I'd get on the mound. Well, before the game started, I would take my cap off, and my theme was, "Ladies and gentlemen, the batteries for today's game The pitcher is Ralph Johnson. The catcher is John Loberger. So then when they gave me substitutions, I would go back on the field, take my hat off. Ladies and gentlemen, the substitutions appears now. Batting for so-and-so is this gentleman. I give the announcement, put my cap off, and go and do my job. Well, see, I want to say a few words about Ross Badger. He was up in his 50s, and he traveled with his girlfriend. And it came a time when they decided to get married. And somehow they got to the personnel of the Jamestown team, and it was announced that there was going to be a wedding at home plate on a certain day. You remember that, Baxter?
Sure do.
And Ross Badger, I was the base umpire when he was the plate umpire. And here's the amazing part about that. Jack Sanford was a manager. Who was he managing? Do you know Jack Sanford? Well, he was the best man.
Yeah, he was,
Wait, you remember Jack Sanford, Bob?
you know, he was managing here, and then he managed
Yeah, Batavia.
Batavia.
Yeah. All right, and Ross Badger, about a week before, put him out of the game for an argument, see? And then Sanford became his best man at that wedding. You know, you say, well, you could put out of a ball game just like I say about Johnny Newman, you know, or Jake Pittler story, see? You're all out there playing ball, the fans enjoy it, the umpires sometimes, there's umpires that you'll watch a game, there's not a peep about anything about a rhubarb, an umpire. You don't even notice the umpires were there because everything was, you're either out or safe. Now, while I'm talking about you're out or safe, I had a consistency. And when you have a consistency, was what my interpreter taught me. He said, have one consistency, and then you have a word or two to say about why you called that play you called without alibis, and it's just simple. He said, now, here's all you have to say. When you get a rhubarb, you call a man out. You call him out because the ball beat him there. Now, if the ball don't beat him there, it's simultaneously the foot and the ball, bang, bang, together. Don't call him out because the ball didn't beat him there. See, this is my philosophy that the school I went to. So, in other words, I call somebody safe is because he beat the ball. He got to the bag before the ball did, see? So, are you all following the consistency? All right, now, while I'm talking about that, we had an umpire here, his name was Gorman, Tom Gorman, see? And I'm telling him this story. He said, what school did you go to? I said, Bill McGowan, American League umpire. Well, he says, in the National League, we do it different. I said, how? He said, we call them out. I said, no, that's all right, it's up to you. He said, yeah, he said, if the ball and the runner gets there at the same time, we call them out. Well, I says, I don't. He said, that way the game ends quicker. I'll stay here an hour, 2 hours. See, I umpired the longest NYP league on record, 23 innings, Jamestown at Bradford. I umpired 4 games in 1 day in 3 different towns. And that's all in my past records. You probably hear about that. You've already heard that. That's a whole story. Let's see what else have I got here. Babe Ruth's World Series. Oh yeah, the NYP League started in 1939. In 1989, it became 50 years. And it's still, let's say, the New York, Pennsylvania League, where Jamestown now, according to Pete Carlo, gave you some good announcements about our jammers. See, while I'm talking about the Jammers, it was a people's choice why they named it the Jammers, and it's good. See, I wrote in, my guess was the Tigers, and I had my wife put the Falcons, because 1941, when they had the name Falcons, it was my wife and another woman that got credit for naming the Falcons. And she got a $5, see this time the Jammers, whoever got the name put in, they got a prize from the Quality Market, am I right? Quality Market gave them a prize for coming up with the Jammers. Well, at that time, the two people that selected, I got the letter here, Russ saw it, that my wife got a $5 due bill from the Bigelow's, and my wife was a little bit on the stout side. She went to Bigelow's and bought a girdle, $25 girdle, and got a $5 deduction for naming the Falcons.
He's in trouble when he gets home.
Is that on the air?
Yes, that's on it, Joe.
Joe, how did you start umpiring, and why? How'd you get into umpiring?
Well, let me say, I used to go to baseball and would see baseball. For example, before I became an umpire, I hitchhiked from Jamestown to Cleveland. Believe you me, it wasn't an easy job. All right, then I and another boyfriend, he had an old jalopy car. We drove all the way to Detroit to see a baseball game. I had baseball from when I was a kid. We used to play baseball, make a ball with old stockings, wrap a rag around it, and go out and get a piece of limb of a tree, put stones for the bases, and play baseball. My mother would say, "You're baseball crazy." When I first started playing baseball in the Muni League, the game was at 1:30, 2 o'clock, and at 10 o'clock I had my uniform on. And my mother would say, "Why are you dressed like this? Your game ain't till 2 o'clock." And this is, then see, I go watch baseball and I see the different play situations, umpires goofing up. I said, "Hey, I can do better than that." So I started to umpire Little League ball before I even went to school. And at that time, because Little League didn't have financial backing, we were doing it free. I wasn't getting paid. This is true, see? So then Little League came where they were selling advertising on the boards, the billboards, and they would pay us $1.50. Well, then I decided, well, there's some way we have to have a school. And the first interpreter was Cy Furman. He started to tell us, see, his father was a major league umpire. Well, Cy Furman didn't last too long, then Larry Rogers took it over, being our interpreter. So from then, I told Larry, I said, "I like baseball. I think I'm going to go to Florida to a Bill McGowan school." So I did. And this was in the, well, let's say 31, 32. Now, that really did it for me, going to school. He taught us to be like an officer of the Army. Bill McGowan taught us to learn the rules. Be gentle to the managers. Be gentle to the players. Stop a riot. Don't let things get where it becomes violence. You're the sole judge of umpiring. Be out there looking like a lieutenant. Don't be out there half crocked like this. And hustle. Know the rules? All right, so on a given day, I'm in Fredonia High School, no, Fredonia College. Oswego was playing Fredonia State. All right, a runner on first base is attempting to steal. All right, so the catcher threw the ball and got him out. And when the shortstop tagged him, he hit him hard. So this boy in anger, not only because he was out, but because he hit him hard. He goes after that shortstop and he's got his arm like this ready to hit him. And I'm close. I held his arm and this boy, he started coming in to charge him because he was ready to hit him. I pushed him away and I said, now look, you boys, I stopped the fight. I was taught to stop a fight if you can stop it, as long as he wasn't going or flagrantly offending me. So I looked at this boy and I said, you want to stay in this game? Well, he said, yeah. Well, I said, you shake hands with him. You want to stay in? You shake. They shook hands. See, so then after the game, the coaches come up to me and he says, thank you. That was the best player I had. I'm glad you didn't put him up. See, now there are circumstances that an umpire, well, let's say if a player, like for example, comes sliding in home plate, all right, he hits the catcher real hard. He pretty much want to kill the catcher, sliding in with his feet. See, he hurts that catcher. So the catcher gets up and hits him. They're fighting, see. He premeditated, got him angry enough. I put them both out of the game. I put them both out because, let's say he retaliated, and I don't blame him, see. I didn't stop the fight. I could have maybe stopped it sooner. I did, but I figured let him give a few licks, see. So, then one given day, there was a high school game where pitcher was at bat, and he was called out on the third strike. Strike three, you're out. He turned around, there's a next batter on deck. He threw the bat and hit the screen. I said, you're out of the ball game, get out. He said, what for? I said, you could have killed your partner. I'm not going to allow you throwing your bat in anger like that. Get out. So that night, I got a phone call. It was that boy's father. What do you think he told me? He says, Nalbone, I want to thank you for putting my boy out of the game. He's a rough cookie home. We have a hard time with him. He's a very stubborn kid. He needs something like what you did, put him out. See, so, well, I never had to put too many managers out until this one day I was in Corning. Now, the batter's box is the place where the on-deck batter, on the layout of the field, if you notice, the on-deck batter is quite a ways from the batter batting. Right, then they have another circle close to home plate where the bungo batter hits the fly balls before the game. So I'm in Corning, and I'm the base umpire, and the batter on deck goes to bat, and I see the bat boy in the circle of the fungo circle. Time! The plate umpire was Ross Crusillo. Ross, get that kid out of there. He's too close. The manager come up and he says, that's my son. So what? Well, he said, he's my concern, not yours. He can stay there if he wants to. I said, you think so, buddy? I said, if that boy gets hurt, the media, the public is going to blame us. We're the sole judge of this game, and he's got to get out of there. If you don't get him out of there, he said, you can't forfeit this game. You're a base umpire. Now, in the rules, it's true. Only the plate umpire. Well, I said, look, I'm the senior umpire, and Ross is only a beginner. And if you don't get him out of here, you're going to hear something very unusual where a base umpire forfeited the game. And that's what it's going to be. But I've got to get the permission of the plate umpire to authorize me to do it. This is true, see? So finally, I told Ross, why don't you, Joe, you started this. You go ahead and finish it. You know what to do. Well, I said, all right, I'm going to finish it. And I told him, if you want, you're leading in the game. I'll forfeit the game, give them 9 runs and you nothing. So he pulled the kid out and he went. Otherwise, truthfully, I never had too much trouble. Now, there was a lot of times that, I'm not bragging to say or blame my partner, but many times I was in situations on rhubarbs on account of my partner. All right, there's a game at the stadium, College Stadium, Bradford. All right, the runner on first base, no, there's a runner on second base. The runner on second base, and 1 or 2 out, and the next batter hit the ball to the left field, a line drive that was a sinker. See, now, when the runner on second base ran across the base umpire, see, I was the plate umpire. The shortstop went to lunge for the ball and was on the obstruction of the line of the umpire when the ball went over and hit the ground, and it hit the ground about 3 feet, and he caught it. So when the base umpire first saw the ball, it was in the glove hand, so he called him out. I think that the boy that hit the ball was Fedorov, and he was in a batting slump. Greg Malevy was the manager. He ran after the base umpire, and Greg was jumping up and down the corner of his neck. He was telling that umpire, he didn't catch that ball, it hit the ground. So Malevy must have told him, call your partner and ask him. So he comes down to me and he says, Nalbone, did you see what happened? I said, yeah. I said, he didn't catch that ball. And I said, now Frank, you're out of the picture. You asked me for help, you're going to get it. Now let me handle it from here on. So I ruled, I says, there's no catch. The runner that was on second stays on third. The batter will hit the ball on first base. All right, so this, I'm on the pitcher's mound because he called me closer to where he was. So in me returning to home plate where I belong, from the dugout there was 3 players in the dugout. They were all with the manager arguing with me. As a matter of fact, I told that manager, I said, you tell that left fielder who didn't catch that ball to come and look in my eyes and tell me he caught it. He said, that's why he hasn't come here yet. I said, you get out. So in returning from home plate, from the pitcher's mound to home plate, these 3 boys was in the dugout. One of them threw a glove, and I heard it bzzz, past my ear. Came from the dugout. I go to the dugout and I said, one of you guys threw that glove at me. First boy says, don't look at me. Second one says, I don't know anything about it. Don't blame me. Well, I said, all right, all 3 of your boys are out of the game. Get out. You're out of the game. What for you two? That glove. So the manager come over to me and he shoved me. Put his hands on me. And I said, you're out of the ball game. Nobody pushes me. He said, it's not so much that. He said, you changed the other umpire's decision. Now you're putting my... I said, now look. One of them boys threw the gloves. I got their number. I took their number, wrote it down. I said, now look. 2 of them boys can come back. You authorize somebody to take your place. You're out of the game. Nobody puts their hand like you did. And I said, 2 can come back, but 1 don't. See, now we can, according to the rules, we can chase the whole dugout. If players are mounting and we warn them, we tell them, no more of these bad languages, swearing, hollering, you're not hustling to the umpire. These are the words they tell the umpire while they're in the dugout. So the umpire maybe does go once or twice. I'm warning you boys, you're not going to be here. I'm going to be here 9 innings. You want to be here that long, you keep your mouth shut. Get out. All right. So then if they're mounting off again, the umpire's had it. Goes over and he says, all you boys, you're out. You go to the dressing room. You're out of this game. Now, according to rules, he can call them back 1 at a time if needed. See, but they're not going to be in there ballyhooing. All right. Here's another game at Bemis Point. The Bradford semi-pro team had a pitcher that was a mounting kid. And on a close play at first base, he started arguing with my first base umpire. And he kept bailing and kept delaying, so I said, look, you delayed enough, you get back on that mound. He said, you too, you're blind. I said, you're out of the ballgame, get out of here. So he goes to the bench and sits down. I go over to him and I said, you're out of this ballgame. He says, I know I am. Yeah, but you're out, you can't sit there, get out of here. Well, where am I gonna go? I said, I don't care where you go, but you don't belong here anymore. This ball game belongs to all of us who enjoy playing baseball, who love the game. You butchered yourself, now get out of here. So he said, you're not big enough to put me out. So I called the manager. I said, look, I didn't go to school to be a fighter. I'm not gonna fight him. I'm telling you as a manager to get him out of here. He tells me, I can't get him out of here. Maybe you could. And if you don't, I'm going to forfeit this game 9-0, like I told you about. You get him out of here. I said, I don't want to fight him. He was bigger than, it's not that I'm afraid, it's that I know the rules. I know how to apply them, when to apply them, and he got that boy out of there, believe you me. Now, while I'm bragging, there was an umpire. He was athletic director, Parks and Recreation director. His name was Jerry Stockman. I don't know if you knew him. All right, Jerry Stockman is 6'2", big, tall boy. All right, we were in Erie doing a professional game, and Frankie, I can't remember his last name, was a manager of Erie. Oh, he was a mouth.
Franchi?
What?
Franchi?
Franchi. Hey!
I've been around.
Yeah. All right. This here Stockman was a base umpire, and it was a play situation where the Erie team had a runner on third base, and he's trying to score on a ball hit to the shortstop. So the shortstop threw the ball to the catcher, and I'm calling him out. You're out. See? So this Frank Frenchy, he come out of the dugout giving me the lip. He says, hey, you missed that call. I said, where were you when I called that play? He said, in the dugout. Well, I said, no wonder you didn't see it, I was right here. So I says to him, look, I don't want to hear no more from you. I said, you come up here and argue with me, I'm going to put you out of the game. So when the inning ended, Jerry Stockman went to first base and he went, attaboy, Joe, he's attaboy. So then, about the fifth inning, they had a runner on third base, almost the same play situation. The ball was hit to the second baseman. Now sometimes, a runner on third, if the ball is hit, say the second baseman is closer to third. If the ball is hit almost in the hole, he can score. See, because the second baseman has to go for the ball, either turn this way or that way, and the runner can maybe beat him. All right, so then when this time, ball hits the second baseman ran up for it. He got it quick, and heck, he was out by a foot. It was easier than the first call, and this Frank Frenchy, he come up on the dugout, I looked over, and he's there, and I said, now, you know what I told you. Well, he ran back in the dugout. So when the inning ended, this Jerry Stockman, the big boy, he comes down to me and he shook my hands. Joe Nalbone, you might be a little guy, but you look like you're 6 foot tall on them calls. He enjoyed working with me. See, so much about that. What else were you going to say, Russ?
I'll just say we're a little after 1:30 and a lot of people need to return, so we're going to try to bring it to a close.
All right, then I want to thank all of you that came to this luncheon. I hope you enjoyed baseball. And don't forget what Pete Carlo told you about the Jammers. Support the Jamestown Jammers. You know, we're lucky in a way to have a team, although the Jamestown fans have been very patriotic. They support, they've always been contributing to funds for baseball, and they're going to continue to do it because of the love of the game, the sport. Baseball is right now in full bloom, and we're waiting to see how this new system with the 3 leagues in each divisions, the East, West, and the Midwest, and it's going to be interesting to watch these playoffs and the World Series. it's something new and maybe it's for the best. And thank you all for coming. I
Let's say
appreciate
thanks to
you.
Joe.